Geeks on Tour.
Hi.
Geeks on Tour. What a great name. And I'm just, I really wanted to interview you all. Good to have you on the show.
Well, thanks, Martin. It's great being here. We're in Fort Lauderdale. It's really kind of warm.
Yeah.
Not as warm as where you are.
Yeah, we're supposed to have over 100 today in Raleigh, so we're both on the same page, except I think you guys are more accustomed to it in that area than us. But touring, you probably usually move to the more pleasant environments on your tour.
Well, that's the idea. That's why our house has wheels. We can stay out of the snow and we can stay where it's nice, and we prefer that.
We usually have really, really good weather wherever we are.
Well, we're going to let them get to know you a little bit. We'll do a real quick introduction, but I met you all in a Google Plus community on Picasa that I started because I thought it was such a good product. I was teaching a course on social media and photography, and then you were doing such a great job helping. I said, want to be a moderator. So, and then I kept learning more and became a fan. So would you just give people first the baseline of what you do and what you offer a little bit, and then I want to go into the history of it.
Okay. Well, I mean, our business is teaching. We call ourselves Geeks on Tour because we live in a motorhome and we are geeks, but the business is teaching, and we do it through our website at geeksontour.com. We have tutorial videos. And we travel around and go to RV rallies. So it's worked out really great as a business. We get to do the seminars at RV rallies to large audiences, sometimes as many as 500 people. And then they get to know us personally. And it's kind of a no-brainer for them to continue learning by becoming a member on our website. And that means that we can do our work from anywhere, because we make our living from our website. So, and yet it's not a lonely living because we do these seminars with the crowd. So we really have the best of both worlds with this.
Right. I started out, well, we've been on this road trip for 11 years now. We sold our house here in Fort Lauderdale in 2003 and took to the road. And I was working for a company that set up Wi-Fi in RV parks. So I've always been a network type person, hardware. Chris had the very first computer training center in South Florida and ran that from 1983 to 96 when she sold.
I don't look that old, do I?
No, she started when she was 7 or 8, I think. But she was the president of the International Computer Trainers Association, and she has if you remember WordPerfect, she was one of the first 17 WordPerfect certified instructors in the world. So she has the credibility and the background to teach. I'm a geek. I'm a true geek. I speak geek, and she translates.
Outstanding. Excellent. I love it. Excuse me. And where I wanted to start next is, so you kind of sold the business and you sort of retired into, I call it retire, it's the second version of you, into this job. Is that correct?
Right, yeah. Well, this is actually the third. Before computers, I was a lawyer in California. And yeah, so, but what I've always liked doing the most is learning and teaching. So this just kind of happened. And when we sold, it was called Computer Savvy, was the training center that we had in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And we sold that, and I thought we would do something completely different. We had this dream of living on the road, thought in RV, I mean, both of us, luckily, had the dream of living on the road, and we thought that we would do something completely different, but we found that people on the road had computers.
And they need help.
And they needed to learn. And then, boy, the landscape today is nothing like it was when we started in 2003.
That's so true.
I mean, now we're teaching all smartphones. Hardly a computer comes into play anymore.
But yeah, we still teach about that.
Chromebooks, you got smartphones. I see a bunch of good hardware there and a little camera there for being able to view the devices.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a document camera that we use, and it's just very handy for showing these things. And on these Hangouts on air, this is a great technology for teaching and for bringing this out. And we can show the screens of the devices, and we can switch them around, and it's really kind of handy.
So what was your first gig? I mean, we sold the business. We're thinking we're going to travel around the country, and then we realize there's a need. But what was the tipping point where you did the first workshop?
Okay, well, I was working for Coach Connect. They set up Wi-Fi in RV parks, and they were sponsors. They paid big bucks to sponsor at these RV conventions, and as a sponsor, they get a seminar slot. But they didn't want to do the speaking. They wanted somebody else to do the speaking so they could schmooze with the park owners and sell their thing. And we're hams. We love an audience.
We love an audience.
So we got out in front and we started doing their seminars. It was called Get Away, Stay Connected. And that just worked out really well. And when they sold their business, the FMCA, the Family Motor Coach Association, asked us to develop more technology seminars and to present them at these conventions. And it just kind of grew from there. So now we have probably close to 20 different seminar topics that we can present, but we've narrowed it down a bit.
Yeah, so Geeks on Tour exists probably because of FMCA, Family Motor Coach Association. We started doing our seminars there.
But we needed something to sell, and we really didn't. We thought we could get paid for public speaking, not in that arena. So we developed these tutorial videos, and Chris puts these things together and teaches in small bits. They're very easy to understand for beginners and even experienced people. So there's so much to learn. So we have these 3 to 5 minute videos, some are a little bit longer, where you can actually learn different subjects. So that's
and you're really good at the two of you working out the new technology that comes in. I mean, I remember when you got the first Chromebook and we're talking about how you were working together to figure it out. And then I just watched with the new Google Photo how quickly you've, as a team, have assimilated the knowledge and converting it to English in your last show. And that's, to me, so important.
Well, you know what they say, do what you love and you never have to work. I think it's obvious from people who watch us that we love this stuff. So having a business that we need to have it and learn it in order to teach it is just feeding our habit.
Yeah, and we are into lifelong learning. We think it's so important to continue to learn as long as you can, and that's what we do.
And then our other passion is travel. So we teach the things that travelers need, not, we no longer teach word processing and spreadsheets and accounting like we did when we were in a stick and brick business. Now we teach photos and maps and blogs and something. Oh, and then just
smartphones and tablets
and communications. Yeah.
And you give them tools so that they can stay connected to each other and their family. But you also have a lot of people are on the. Did you say a lot of people are on the road and retired? Is that right that you run into?
Yes. Most are retired, but not all. There's a lot of people on the road that are younger now because they can work on the internet. Our favorite. I like to sum up what we do for our customers with our favorite customer quote. And he says, thanks to Geeks on Tour, I can use my smartphone. My pictures are organized and backed up. I have a travel blog and my grandkids think I'm Facebook savvy. That's what we hope for. That's why we are doing what we're doing, is to hear things like that.
Yeah, I love that. I think it's excellent. And then you go around to the places. You found the hardware to be able to help you teach, because that little document viewer also could be used in a classroom setting or a projection at a conference to show the handheld device. Isn't that right?
That's absolutely right. That's what it was created to do. Originally, we've just modified it and put it into these Hangouts. And we just do a screen share so that we can share that particular device when we need to.
Now, when you're giving the training, do you use any type of PA system, or you or what type of equipment do you use for the groups?
Well, that depends.
How many sound systems have
Well,
you bought, Jim?
I've gone through a few. Well, it depends on the size of the audience. Basically, if at these big rallies, they have the big screens and the PA systems and all that stuff. But now I have a small PA system and a mixer and the microphones and the things that we need to present to an audience of up to 100 people. We can do that pretty easily. But at the big venues, sometimes we'll have dual screens, huge screens, and even rear projection. So it is a big production in some of these. And then sometimes we're in a swine barn where we at a fairgrounds when we're doing these things.
Oh, remember, we actually did one seminar in the laundry room at an RV park.
We did not need a PA system for that. But
I love that. I love that. And then let's talk a little bit about the equipment you're using. Because I've also got to start one of the larger podcasting technology groups on LinkedIn that's now run by a great team. But first of all, what was the PA you finally landed on?
Oh, I haven't landed on it yet. Actually.
Oh, I got it.
But I'm working right now with just a powered speaker connected to I have a Xenix, a Behringer mixer that goes into an amplified speaker. Got
it. So you've got great, excellent. And then you use lavalier mics, is that right?
Right. Right now she has a wireless mic that's mic'd into the mixing board, and I have a wired mic. I don't move around as much as she does. I usually sit when we're doing these presentations live for an audience. I'll be running the computer. So I drive the computer that's usually projected up onto the screen, and she does most of the talking, but we go back and forth and we try and keep it light. We call it edutainment. So it's a little bit of education and a little bit of entertainment, and we just have a lot of fun with it. And we think that that's a great way for our audiences to learn.
You know, it's funny you said that, because I was just teaching in Western North Carolina at a community college, and I remember in the introduction, she says, she says, this guy's funnier than he gives credit to, or something. And I realized just one of my passions is if they can learn and laugh at the same time, I've really accomplished something. And I hear the same commitment in what you all do when you're educating people.
That's one of the things that you learn at the Train the Trainers, is to keep the audience engaged, and still that's the way to help them understand and to learn.
Yeah, not always easy to do with technology, but
no, but you can make. I mean, there's always a few safe, what I call mildly self-deprecating jokes you can throw in, and kind of jokes on the system. Really having some compassion for their own struggle in learning this stuff leads to more humor if you want it. But
I hear you.
I say laughing with them, but not at them.
Well, that's one reason why we wear these silly hats. We tell people that we wear these to try to remind us not to take ourselves too seriously. So
we actually got married in these hats. And we were at the launch of Windows 95 when they had the big launch down here. And
that's the first time we wore
That's these. The first time we wore them, and we got married in these.
Oh my gosh, that's just fantastic. So then so that's the production when you speak to people in the groups. And then let's talk a little bit about the production of your show that you have, which is aired once a week. I love that.
Well, once again, it was just because we love the technology, and when we learned that there was such a thing as Hangouts on air, that you could sit in your living room in your RV, talk to your computer, and be reaching a worldwide audience. We just had to do it. So we had to find a reason.
And smartphones and tablets are the reason that we do this, because this technology changes from week to week, and it's just becoming just exploding. It wasn't available when we started this road trip 11 years ago. And so we just try and keep up with it, and we teach it, and we can show it. So we're using Hangouts on Air, the same technology that you're using for this broadcast here. And we put it together. We usually have two computers. She has a computer basically for the screen share. And then we'll have a camera, sometimes two. And then we go through the mixing board, and that goes through the computer for sound. Sound is so important when it comes to these Hangouts, as you know. It's good to have a picture, but if the sound is bad, then nothing works.
Learning Hangouts on Air has been a major challenge too. And I gave that job to the real geek here, and he signed up for Hangout Helper.
Yeah.
Ronnie Dinser.
Shout out for him. He does a great job.
Yeah, Ronnie does a wonderful job.
He does do
we
a great job.
him.
So it's hangouthelper.com,
Right?
Right. If anybody is serious about learning to use Hangouts on Air, very different from Hangouts, which was the topic of our show with you a couple weeks ago, Martin. We talked about personal use of just Google Hangouts. Hangouts on Air is at a whole other level.
And bandwidth is so important for these things. We just got last Friday, we got fiber internet here in the townhouse. What we normally use when we travel, we do these shows, these live shows on Sunday. It's called What Does This Button Do? We do those using our cell phones, Verizon internet, and we connect our devices to that, because Verizon's XLTE speeds are very, very high. Now, we have had these plans for so long that we have been grandfathered into an unlimited data plan.
Don't ever lose that phone.
No way. I had to pay full price for this phone because I would refuse to lose my unlimited data plan. And that's really important.
Full price is $800. But
it's a business expense, right?
Yeah, right. But we had to do it.
And it works well most places. Now, we have had to change our location sometimes in order to do this, but we can actually do it in our RV. Turn on the generator so we have power.
From a Walmart parking lot.
From a Walmart parking lot where there is internet connection on our Verizon phones and data. So we can do our show from anywhere, and we've done it from some pretty interesting places. But here in Fort Lauderdale, we have a location with really good bandwidth, and we're enjoying it a lot.
So what we have is I love that. I'm really getting a clear picture of doing this. Your Hangout on Air, first of all, it's a great name. What does this button do? Is that right? Did I get it correct?
That's right. What does this button do?
Once again, really trying. It was when we came up with that name that we said, oh yeah, we're going to do this, because the name kind of says it all. It's about technology, but it's trying to keep it light and not at an expert. There is no such thing as an expert in this. You cannot be. It changes too much. So, what does this button do? I thought kind of summed it up. And
yeah, just keep pressing buttons. And we'll have another challenge next week. We will not do our show on Sunday. We're going to be in England. We're leaving on Tuesday. We'll be there Wednesday, and for a couple of weeks. So we will do our show from England, but it won't be on Sunday. So stay tuned to geeksontour.com to find out when that's going to happen. And if you like us on Facebook at geeksontour.com or Geeks on Tour, you can get a notification of when the show is going to be. Right now, it's tentatively scheduled for Wednesday, the 24th.
Or of course, if you follow us on Google Plus, you'll know
Yeah,
that
you'll
too.
find it too. That's great.
But
How do you do the multiple cameras in the Hangout on Air? That's something that's beyond many people, and I love that you've worked this out.
Well, there are a couple of processes. If you have two computers, that makes it very easy. I usually run the show here from a Microsoft Surface Pro computer, so I have a touch screen controller, so I can control who gets pinned in the show, and she'll have a computer with a camera on it. There's also Minicam. It's a software that you can get where you can control multiple screens and do switching and fading and that kind of stuff. I have an old background in a previous life from television production, so I know a little bit about it, but
he
just a
pushes
tiny
the
bit.
envelope.
Yeah, I do, but it's fun. It's what I enjoy doing, and sometimes it works well, and sometimes it crashes.
Want to demonstrate a little bit?
Yeah, let me.
Great.
Let's
Yeah.
put on a screen there.
So first of all, he just shares his screen, and that's something that is expected in Google Hangouts on Air or any kind of Google Hangouts. You can share your screen. What we add to it is the document camera, so which is displaying on his screen.
Yeah, let me get it down to the screen.
I got it. So now we've created, basically, now we have the one camera showing the two of you, and then the document camera is basically showing all he's doing is displaying his screen and then sharing it.
Exactly.
And that makes it great. Now, normally this would be on another computer, but I can do my screen share here. And what really makes it work well is having a second screen for the monitor for the show, so you can see the show on one screen and see what's going on the other screen. And a lot of times we'll even have another device showing the live show. And if you have all of that technology, it makes it so much easier. Want to see pictures of our grandkids?
That's great. That's great. And of course, what you're showing is Google Photo right there. So
yes, of course.
what you just did a good show on. Excellent. So what we have one main webcam, then we have the two of you might going into a Behringer a mixer, and then how's the mixer get into the computer?
Well, this particular mixer, it's a Q802 USB, so it plugs directly into the USB port. I have a hub down there with it that it plugs into, and I can control the mics separately. I could even put in, well, this has 8 inputs, but there are smaller ones. And with the,
Do you want to show it?
I don't think I want to pick it up and try
No,
and
no.
That's okay. They can look that up.
yeah. So it's a
Thanks for
Q802 USB Behringer.
Right. And then that feeds in, and then that is the audio you're selecting in the Google Hangout that allows the two of you to be well mixed.
Right. That makes a big difference, we think, for the sound. Absolutely.
And then we learned the hard way. If you watch some of our earlier Hangouts, you hear a lot of echo. You hear blank spots. We went for one.
Almost 10 minutes
with no sound.
I muted the mic, and I thought, and that got rid of the echo.
It got rid of all sound.
Well, another thing is you guys have the courage to kind of learn in front of the world, and I think that opens up stuff for people. I take passion in that as well. Things are going to happen, and people need to know how to respond to it, and that's something that my view in training is, if a disaster occurs, how can this be a teaching moment? And I hear that in the two of you as well.
Very good.
Always learning.
Always learning.
Always learning.
Because when one person teaches, 2 people will learn.
All right. Right. That's excellent. Well said. And so that's how it comes in. So we basically, we basically have one Hangout that with share screen, the camera, and the mixer, we're able to get two people involved and be able to see the device. Is that right?
That's absolutely true. And that's the way we do it. And I tried doing multiple camera angles and things like that, but I think it's important to keep it simple too. And
Yeah.
we do teaching in our shows, so we need to have the document camera on the device. And I like that, being able to have a different shot that is a teaching tool. And I see a lot of just talking heads, and nothing wrong with that. But if we can, for what we do, we need to show how to do it. We call them show me how videos.
And sometimes once we did a roving reporter style of show. This was a month ago or so. We were at a rally and I took the iPad. I was on the Hangout using the iPad, and I was able to walk around and do some interviews in the exhibit hall while Jim was back in another room running the show. And that was fun. And we probably will do something like that in England next week.
Right.
I think that's a terrific idea.
Yeah,
let's switch over to a little bit about business. What have you learned? Now, you had some good business skills, of course, before you got into this, running your own business. But for someone wanting to launch out on their own and do a business, there's so many things I've learned over the years since I left IBM in '95 of transitioning from being an employee to my own business. And what would be a few tips you've learned in the process?
I've always been an entrepreneur. So it was it's just the way I roll. You know, I've never been an employee except when I worked at a Dipper Dan's ice cream store when I was 16. Other than that, I got out of law school and I started my own law practice. I had the opportunity with my mother to get into the computer training, and she kind of set that up. Now, okay, so there's a tip, is find a good partner.
Yeah.
My first partner was my mother, and she was a CPA. So she was a CPA, I was a lawyer. You know, we kind of knew what needed to be done. And then we both had the passion for computers and teaching. So that's how I started in '83. Now, this is my partner here, and he has the same passions for learning and teaching technology. And
yeah, well, I used to work for Chris, but I still work for Chris.
He was the network administrator at Computer Savvy.
So I worked for my family business growing up was a restaurant. And so that's the business that I came from. And then when we sold the business in New Jersey, I got a job. I went back to school and got my degree in electronics technology and started working for a company that set up and sold PC clones back in the late 80s, mid 80s and late 80s. So I grew up with and learned networking and started teaching it. Chris, or the Computer Savvy business, bought their computers from us. So I came along with the job. I was a service manager.
And then I hired him, and then I married him, and then I put him to work again.
then your hour rate went
way down.
I remember one time my wife helped me, and she goes, you know, if I were employed, I think I might be job hunting. And at that moment, we changed the whole structure because I went too much on this poor person. And I went, I got to back up quickly. And
family is cheap labor. Yep.
Yeah, very cheap. Right.
I think a tip that I would give if you're an entrepreneur starting your own business, you got to try not to do it all yourself. Mm-hmm. And that's a lesson I'm still learning, because in fact, when I had a regular business and we had employees, I did a speech on being a small business, and I was asked the question, what's the best part of running your business and what's the worst part? And the answer was the same. the best part was the team of employees. When you're all on the same page, working for the same goal, there is nothing better. The worst part was my team of employees. If somebody is having any kind of an issue where there's personality conflicts or they're not doing their job and it's up to you to either fire them or teach them what, there's just nothing worse. So I tend to like to do everything myself, but you can't.
Yeah, it's impossible.
So for example, I did all our tax returns for the first few years. Now I have an accountant, so all I do is just send him the data files, then that's my job is done. I don't have to spend hours and hours on that. What I am just now starting to do is get help with the website. I've been doing the website all myself, and that takes all your time, and you stop doing what you're good at, which is the teaching. So try not to do everything yourself.
And do the things that you excel at.
Yeah.
Yourself.
Yeah. There is I think there's a book, I think it's called, I'll think of it later, but it's kind of, they studied the most successful people, and they found what they tend to do is they tend to do what they're best at and hire other people to do what they're not best at. And years ago, this was life changing for me, because years ago it would be they do your review in the corporate environment or in any setting, and then you would focus on your weak points to improve, not to farm out. Right. And I think that's an excellent tip to give people on it. And the other big thing I see is the luxury of perfection that people moving from a corporate job with very high commitment to self-employed, you can't make a living that way. And you've got to get it good enough and then move with it. And that's, to me, have you seen that as well? Was, again, I realize you've been not working for someone else so long, it's hard to remember, but that's a missing piece I'll see sometimes.
Well, I never thought of myself as a perfectionist. That's just not, but I can be. I can be. It really surprises me to realize, for example, in farming out some of the website work, I am often not happy. But you have to live with a certain amount of imperfection or you just can't move on. So yeah, I agree with that one.
One other piece that I've learned working with different people, I both learn and think the best in relationships with other people, interact. That's kind of my style. I mean, I do some of my thinking on my own, but a lot of it I learn right in front of the classroom. I'll say something and go, boy, I wish I recorded that, because that's smarter than me. And so one of the things I think is also important, especially as a married couple, is what my associate Karen says is taking out the trash. And that means you're going to have upsets occur, and you can't just stuff them. You got to work them out, argue them out, whatever, and get clear again for working with each other. Do you find any of this important too?
Absolutely.
So who's
yeah.
the boss, Jim?
Well, she's the boss, obviously. But it's interesting because we have a special dynamic. We live in a very small area. We live in an RV that's only 37 feet long, and we are together 24/7. So occasionally one of us has to take a time out, and she kicks me to the curb. And
that's why you carried the tent, right, Jim?
I have been known to check into a motel for a couple of days.
Yeah.
Just to get some real work done.
Yeah, mostly that was to get my work done, not really to get away from him, but I like my alone time, and that's been a challenge.
Yeah, but we like our together time too.
We do. You know, we're really lucky that way. Living and working together in a small space will either make or break you. That's the other. And to me, it has made our relationship even stronger, because we allow each other to have our dreams come true. I mean, we could not be living, I could not be living this dream by myself. And he
I
couldn't
wouldn't
either.
want to, you know.
So we are helping each other to make our dreams come true. And it's really strengthened our relationship to be in business together.
Yeah, I think that's excellent. I refer to that coming from your commitment, not just the immediate feelings you have. So another real good. So now I want to switch hats a little bit more before we wrap this up and talk about online training. This is something else. You have a very affordable online training, but a little bit about the mechanics. What made you decide platforms, the technology? Because I've checked it out. I thought I love your attitude of give very high value so people walk away with something they can do. And then if they really want your time ongoingly, instead of a higher price consulting, they get a very affordable online training site that you support. So talk a little bit about that and how you decided to get it set up.
Well, the way we decided to get it set up was just, putting one foot in front of the other. Back when I had a computer training center, I loved the idea of recording the tutorials. Back then there was Lotus ScreenCam. Do you remember that? Now there is Camtasia. I love Camtasia for doing the screencasting. Now with the mobile devices, we've had to figure out other ways of doing that. As far as the business model, this is a fabulous business model in being, what do they call that? Not expandable, but
scalable.
Scalable, thank you, that's the word. So having a membership site, a membership website, means you build the content, the value once, and it's basically the same amount of work, whether one person is a member or 10,000. So obviously our goal is 10,000, but and it's all done online over PayPal. So it's just way cool when in the morning you see messages on your phone, you've got cash from people signing up for your website while you slept.
From anywhere in the world.
From anywhere in the world. Yeah, we have lots of members in Australia, for example. And it's still a lot of work, though.
Yeah.
It's still a lot of work, but the work isn't directly related. Like what I hated about being a lawyer was I had to write down every 10 seconds and have that assigned to a client in order to make money. Now I just do what I love, which is doing the teaching, and the money comes in, but they're not directly related.
That's excellent. So you build the content up, of course, keep it current, and then what did you there? Now there are more and more online learning platforms. I'm going to pronounce it. Udemy is one, and there's also Woo Themes has Sensei along with Buddy Press. Those are some with WordPress now that exist. But what did you decide on for your platform?
Well, our first website, I actually coded myself in Cold Fusion. Talk about things that you should not do yourself.
Right.
I mean, that just took all of my time, but I'm a database person at heart. So what I loved about that platform was that it was my database and I could do anything, but it was just a waste. It was not a good use of my time. So when WordPress became available, I jumped on that pretty quick as soon as I saw a plugin for membership. And the plugin that we use is called Wishlist Member.
Uh-huh.
It's not perfect, but there's one of those times that you have to just live with not perfect in order to have something that's very affordable and it's completely scalable. So we like that for the most part. I do keep looking at these things like Udemy, and there's several others. I think, boy, wouldn't it be nice to be on a platform where they do all this promotion? You'll definitely get more more subscribers. But our own membership website is our own membership website. I kind of like that. And most of our customers, not all, but most of them come to our website because they've seen us in a live seminar. So that also is very, very nice. We have a lot of happy customers and very, very few
unhappy customers.
Because they know us. You know, that's valuable. That's really
well, I want to add
valuable.
something else that's very important here. You seem to work hard to stay close to your customer and what they know, and that you learn a lot from being in front of them, understanding, living their world, so that I'm sure it seems like your content really speaks to their world itself, and that's, to me, a very important thing in a business.
Well, it's important to know your audience and try and anticipate their needs.
That I say is one of the big challenges of online, though, as well, because when you're face to face with people, they can just instantly ask you questions and you can adjust where you're speaking, the level that you're speaking at, based on what you can see is their understanding. On the web, I know that we have people at the very lowest beginning levels listening. Plus, we have some real geeks that are our members as well. The temptation is to start talking higher and higher. And when we get face to face with people, we realize that we have to
bring it down a few notches.
Bring it down. So that is a challenge, to have such a variety of levels of understanding amongst our viewers.
Now, on your YouTube channel, I love you're building up, to me, a really good regular show. And have you thought about potentially monetizing that at some point? Because I don't think you've done that yet. And of course, you really have to get over thousands of views to make that useful. But just curious, is that possibly on it?
Well, that's actually a very interesting little piece of what we've done. When we started out, I also write a lot of articles. And when we started out, our philosophy was anything that's written on our website is freely available to anybody. The only thing that we charge in our membership for is the video content. Now with this weekly YouTube show, you have to make that free. There's a YouTube show, it's all free. You have to make that free. So how do we give a benefit to members? What we've done is the show notes. We write up the show notes, and that is available only to members. So we've kind of flipped the model in that the video portion is free, but if you want the cliff notes, if you will, with all the links, that's what you get as a member.
No,
so I think it's monetized.
I think that's nice, but what I'm talking about is just keeping in mind, because I mean, I'm doing the math on that low price you're doing versus labor as a business coach, and you're working to really keep that price down to your members, which means the more little streams of income you can have, the more it adds up, and it's less burden on one person. So what I was talking about is the idea of possibly, as you get more members, maybe monetizing the YouTube channel. And then you can choose to turn on the ads as a little bit that shows up at the bottom or the other. Have you thought about that?
I've looked at that and monetizing some of the videos that we have, and yeah, it's a possibility. Right now, we don't have quite those numbers. We're just getting probably close to 2,000 follows on YouTube, which is a respectable number. We've done 42 of these "What Does This Button Do" shows, and I think it's more word of mouth. The folks that are watching tend to be mostly members, or we still put our own ad in there to try and push people into, or bring people into membership. But I guess it would probably be something that we would look into and just see if we can throw some ads on there.
We did raise our rates once. When we started out, we charged $39 for 1 year membership. And yeah, that wasn't enough. But
Yeah.
that was back when we only had 50 tutorial videos available. You know, now we have nearly 400. And a couple years ago, we did a big jump. We went from 39 to 68. And we made it that big a jump because I didn't want to do it again.
Right.
So 68 is still, as you say, I think very reasonable for what we offer. And yet it gives us something. And if we could get, you know, we have 1,500 members about right now. And a lot of them are still grandfathered in at that $39 rate. So,
Sure.
but I like the idea of growing quantity of members rather than raising the price. So,
But we also have a couple of ebooks out there and a regular, the Picasa, the Beginner's Guide for Picasas, a book that Chris wrote here a few years ago, and it's still very valid, and it links to some tutorial videos so that people can learn that program very
and
easily.
sometimes we do get paid for speaking.
That's
Not very
great.
often.
Yeah, I mean, what a great team to bring in. I mean, you could just do a talk on being married and surviving in a small space. So
We actually do have a seminar called, what is it?
Just Jim and Chris on the road. Or?
Geek Love Story or something like that.
We call it internet love story. Not that we met on the internet on a dating site or anything, but that our love of the internet allows us to make our business. And so we love the internet because of what it allows us to do.
Excellent. And then one thing you mentioned also, video hosting. What have you chosen for your hosting? Because that's going to eat up a lot of bandwidth with 50 videos.
I've been through a lot of that, and I am now settled on YouTube. Now this is controversial, but so I make my screencast videos using Camtasia. Camtasia is by a company called TechSmith. They are a great company. It is wonderful software. I love it. I won't ever change from that. They have a hosting website called screencast.com. So that's where I started out. And still the majority of our videos are hosted at screencast.com. Recently, I found a plugin for playing your videos on WordPress called S3 Video Player. And it allows you to, it won't work. It won't work with videos hosted on Screencast. So back to the drum, but it's a really nice plugin. So I looked at S3, which is Amazon, and I looked at YouTube for hosting it. And I like using YouTube. What you do is make it unlisted. So people can't run across your video. Now, if they do get it, they can share the link to somebody else. You just can't worry about that.
No, you can't, because they can scrape it or something else if you made it secure. There are too many ways that they, want to steal it.
If it's up there for somebody to see, it's up there for that person to copy it, share it, whatever.
Yeah. But using the plugin on the WordPress site, they can't see the YouTube URL. So I feel pretty good with that. And then it's still on YouTube. If someday down the road, and I know YouTube is working towards this, to give you easy way to monetize videos, if YouTube gives us a really good way to monetize the videos, all I have to do is flip one switch from unlisted to public, and we have a whole new business model.
That's excellent. And and that gives you, of course, it works on different dimensions and adapts as well. So you've got a lot of options here. Well, I want to wrap up with part of this show occurred because you had me on your show, and I said, I really want to talk about the process of you being self-employed, doing this job. And you said, that'd be great because many of our people want to know more about it, but it's not our platform. So I wanted to leave the last few minutes to be, what are some things your customers wanted to know that you really haven't had a chance to tell them about either running the business, having the business, or having the training that maybe you'd like to just share right now?
Go ahead.
I think we've done a pretty good job. I've really enjoyed your questions. Yeah, a lot of our members have asked, what is Hangout on Air? And why are you using it for this? Because it seems to have a lot of problems. I mean, early on, we had a lot of problems doing the Hangout on Air, but we are just, I guess we have to admit to the fact that we are Google fanboys and girls, because they might not have everything perfected when they put it out, but boy, are they doing the coolest stuff. And this Hangout on Air, which allows us to do a worldwide broadcast for free, is just amazing.
Now, the business model, we didn't have a business plan going in. So that was something that just kind of evolved, and we saw a need and we filled it, which is basically the entrepreneurial spirit. You find a need and you try and make a business work with that. And it's still evolving. We don't have all of the answers, and we're still struggling to make it. But it's a fun thing. So if you have something that you're really interested in and you can make a business out of it, it takes luck and it takes a lot of work.
And you have to be okay with not making much money.
Right. You're definitely gonna, because of the amount of labor you're putting into it. Excellent. Well, this has just been fantastic having you on the show. Look forward to maybe connecting in person one day and staying connected, because you're right. We've got Hangout, which is chat and video, and then Hangout on Air, which is broadcasting over YouTube. We've used it, we've talked about it, but more important, hopefully people have an insight into the wonderful life you're living. And to me, it's I think I just really love helping people and love to team up with those that want to do the same.
Right.
Just one thing I've always been meaning to ask you about, all that foam. You have an actual sound room there, huh?
Yes, I have what happened is we built an extension on the house for my parents with the goal to move in. Now, this was my father's idea. My mother never wanted to leave the house. And when we did it, there was an extra room, and I thought, let's go ahead and put extra insulation in, because this could be my podcasting room. I was doing podcasting then. And this is a little mini studio room. And then I got a sale on a box of acoustical tiles. And before I knew it, I had covered the whole wall with it. Then when I went to video, I thought, now I've got a video backdrop that's interesting. So these are
nice. I like it.
Branded acoustical tiles, and we made, thanks to my wife's a little gifted in patterns and stuff, so it makes the backdrop. We've got carpet with extra padding, walls with extra insulation, and then I use on the other end of the room, I have the drapes you use for home theater, which are much cheaper than buying an acoustical tile version of that, that actually controls the reduces the sound. So unless there's someone mowing the lawn in my front yard, we are relatively quiet, and it's not a lot of echo. Minimized echo, just enough to be human. I've learned in studios, if you remove too much of the echo, it actually doesn't sound human anymore. So
it's just too dead. Yeah.
It's too dead. Right. So I'm just like you. I'm a geek at heart, and I've got this is my kind of playroom, and then I got the table from someone who was selling their business here, and 2 chairs for $50, and I can set up a camera with a wide angle at the other end of the room, and do interviews. And that's, if you ever get a really good one, is me speaking to Andy Beal on his book on Reputation. And that was done in studio here in my house. My parents chose never to come. So now the room stores a lot of their stuff, and my father peacefully passed on in his home, and my mom's in DC. So I'm like you. I tell people I only work 8 days a week and then take a day off.
Yeah. And any 18 hours of the day will work for you.
That's right. And so that's my life right now. So thank goodness I love the people I teach. My passion is keeping the American dream alive, and fighting to get our politicians to get to know that micro business is the backbone of America, not just large business, and show it in their actions. So that's kind of a passion I have. Go ahead.
It blows me away when I hear the definition of small business being anything like, what, under 150 or something?
Yeah, usually most of the time on the radar it's 50 or above.
Right. And
that's not what the heart and soul of our small towns is. It's not even what the country was built on. And so I do have a passion that we keep asking our politicians, what are you doing for micro business, and work with them on that as well, and get the awareness out of how important it is. Because see, in wrapping it up, you see, when somebody, let's say someone has a job they don't like and they aren't satisfied, and they get to know you all, well, at least gives them hope there is another option. Even if they succeed or not in doing it, it adds to hope in the world. And when everyone has automatic low-paying jobs and systems, we destroy the will and hope of the country. And that's, to me, why I wanted to interview you. This is so important. You offer much more than just the education to the training. You offer the model of, hey, there are other options. You may not be able to just go get the newest car if you want, but there are other options today, and that's thanks for asking.
And it's the internet that allows that for us.
Yeah,
and that's just so cool.
Excellent.
We enjoy it.
How can they find out more about you?
Okay, go to geeksontour.com on an internet browser. That's where you find all of our information, and it is the place to find out our weekly show, our articles, our tutorial videos, and we give you a chance to join our membership website there.
And if you want to just see about the lifestyle, that's our blog, but you can go to geeksontour.com, and under the articles menu, there's our personal travel blog. And you can even see Jim's quadcopter videos there.
Yeah. Now, are you going to try to get real Stonehenge when you go to England?
Well, that's not in the plans, and I'm not going to take my quadcopter to England with us. It's just too much luggage.
It there anyway.
I think they would probably frown on it. But in Odessa, Texas, there is a replica of Stonehenge that I did fly the quadcopter over, and I put together a small video.
That is cool.
And you can see all of those videos on our website. There are links, and another
on our YouTube channel somewhere too,
yeah, and another passion is scuba diving. So I take underwater videos for that too. But that's just a completely different thing.
Wonderful. Hope to meet you soon. Great to hang out with you today, and you all have a wonderful week. And thanks for everyone who's watching this in the future. We'll put some links on them and me below, and make it just thanks again. Take care.
Thank you, Martin. That was fun.